Welcome back to the Mill Creek Government Channel. I'm Jessica James Stutzman. On today's show, we are going to explore the wide world of recycling. It's time to get back to those basics so we can make an even bigger impact in 2017 than we did this past year. Waste Management is Mill Creek Township's contracted curbside waste and recycling hauler. And together, we want you to recycle right and recycle often. Joining us in the studio today is the Public Affairs Coordinator for Western Pennsylvania, Erica DeYarman Young. Thanks so much for joining us here in the studio.
Thanks for having me, Jessie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. And you did come all the way up from Pittsburgh, and specifically Neville Island.
Yes, that's where our recycling facility is.
Okay, good. So folks, if you don't know I mention it all the time, our recycling from Mill Creek Township, from the city of Erie, from other municipalities where Waste Management is the hauler, it all gets transferred down to Pittsburgh and specifically Neville Island where it gets sorted and separated. So we're gonna just get into the nitty gritty, and I want our viewers to know what makes something recyclable.
Well, there's three things that make something recyclable. First being, can the hauler easily collect that item? Can they get it from the curb to your processing facility? If we can do that, once it's at our processing facility, are we able to sort for it? Can our machinery and our equipment actually pull that material and recover it for recycling? And finally, is there an end market for it? Do we have enough volume of that product and an actual market to sell it to make it recyclable?
Beautiful. And that's a really good point, those three things, because if you're missing any component of one of those three things, either something that may have been recyclable may not be able to be recycled anymore, or vice versa, new things get added to the recycling list because one of those three things has fallen in line. Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay. And you've brought some props with us.
We did.
Why don't we share with the viewers too, what is recyclable? I know there's 6 basic categories.
So what is recyclable? We have aluminum cans and metal cans. I don't have any of those props today, but I think everyone knows what they look like. Your plastics, so we can accept numbers 1 through 5 and number 7. Whenever we're talking about plastic recycling, we really want to think about what is dimensional, what has a bottle shape, a tub shape, anything that has a dimension to it, that's usually a good plastic for us to recycle. We can touch back on the plastic bags in a little bit,
right.
But that's one of the things we really kind of can't recycle under those numbers. We then can take any type of paper or fiber, as we would call it in the recycling industry, your newsprint, your office paper, your cardboard. Glass is recyclable. We're very fortunate at our Pittsburgh recycling facility. We can accept glass, and we do have an outlet for it. And I think that covers all of it. Yeah, that's it.
Perfect. So, and when it comes to paper and the fiber products, the cardboard, that does include like paper boards, cereal boxes, spaghetti boxes, things like that.
Anything that would fall under your fiber category, that's where that would fall under.
And a newer component I want to touch on too would be the cartons, actually. The orange juice cartons or the milk cartons, milk containers. Why has that been added to the stream as something that can be recycled?
Thanks to a grant from the Carton Council, our recycling facility in Pittsburgh obtain the equipment to actually sort for cartons. If you take your cartons and you tear them in half, you see a bright white tissue on the inside. That's very desirable by tissue companies. So they're looking for cartons to actually be able to make it into your tissue paper, your toilet paper, those types of materials.
Good. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because a lot of times people want to know what their items are going to be recycled into. And so for that specific item, it would be tissues.
Exactly. Tissue, some type of tissue paper. Yeah.
Great. Okay. And then I want to point out a few other things. You did mention that we're very fortunate here in at least Mill Creek to be able to recycle glass. That's one of those things. Again, glass is very heavy, and if you don't have the end processor who wants to buy it back from you, it may not be feasible to recycle glass anymore. So that's not the case in our area. We still can recycle glass, but that is not to say that you can go to Philadelphia or anywhere else in the country. So what we're showing you here today is very specific to Mill Creek Township and to Erie County.
Exactly. If you're not recycling in this area, it's best to check with your local recycler to see what can actually be recovered.
Perfect. And I know that does get confusing. If you go on a trip or you take a vacation, you're in the habit and you've been trained to recycle what's in your area. So, if your hotel, does do recycling, make sure you check with the front desk or, with that municipality before you go. I know we have a lot of avid recyclers who are watching right now. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on with the plastics is there's usually a number on the bottom, and people ask me about those numbers a lot.
Absolutely. So if you look on the bottom of your recycling, your plastics, whether it's a bottle or Most of it's listed on the bottom. Sometimes they're listed on the wrap that surrounds it. It'll have the triangle symbol, and it will have a number on the inside. If it's a number 1 through 5 or a number 7, we can recycle that at our facility. Number 6, we unfortunately cannot accept. Those are usually a foam product, and they're just really difficult for us to recover at our sites.
Right. Those are usually really lightweight in material. There's no, good processors who want to buy that back from us.
We do recommend if you have an item that falls under that number 6 category, or it's a plastic and it's not something that we can accept, there's a great website. It's Earth 911. Residents can go onto that website, search the item they're looking for, and it will tell them if there's a recycling option in their area.
Perfect. That's beautiful. And you mentioned Earth 911, and also we use TerraCycle sometimes as well to recycle even just odds and ends like cigarette butts that we find throughout the township. We'll recycle through TerraCycle, and they get made into new park benches and things like that.
That's a great resource too.
Great. And then what are some common mistakes people make with residential recycling?
Well, the biggest one I can think of would be the plastic bags. These plastic bags are absolutely recyclable. However, whenever we go back to what makes something recyclable at a single stream or a curbside facility, we just cannot recover these at our facilities. What we recommend to do with your plastic bags is take them back to your supermarkets. Basically, where you got your bag from, more than likely that location is going to have a bag drop-off where you can leave your bags, any type of film plastic there, and they'll make sure it gets recycled.
Right. And there is a recycle symbol on the bottom of these bags and a little number inside, but like Erica said, and look at this one's even a number, is that number 2?
Usually a 2 or a 4.
Perfect. So we just want to take any film plastic and actually take it back to the grocery store or the retailer. Please don't actually put your recyclables in these bags and then place them for the curbside. That's just not the way to do it, because it does get caught up, and I've seen it myself.
Exactly.
I've visited Neville Island. It gets caught up in the machines that are winding around and rotating. You have to stop the process.
We use sizing screens to pull out fiber from our stream, and unfortunately these plastic bags, any type of film plastic, really even any stringing item that we can talk about in a little bit, can get wrapped around these machines. What happens is it prevents the material that it's supposed to be sorting for from falling through. So at our facility, at the end of every shift, we have to lower employees down to remove those bags. At some facilities, they have to shut down the line completely much more often than at the end of every shift. So it's a huge headache for us at the facilities.
Right, and so that's the thing I wanted to mention. We called it a MRF, or a sorting facility. If you're an avid recycler, I've used this word before, and it's MRF, M-R-F, and it means Material Recovery Facility. And so where we send our recyclables to is the MRF in Neville Island. But why don't you let us know how it's sorted at your specific facility?
So first, all the items come in commingled. So you're gonna have them coming in on the same truck. We take them to our tipping floor. We'll put them up on a line, and you'll have some employees that will do a pre-sort. They're gonna be pulling out any type of material that cannot be recovered at our sites. Jesse, I'm sure when you've been there, you've seen bowling balls, foam coolers. I was there once a few weeks ago. We had a couch cushion come in. Any of those materials, they're gonna pull out. That, unfortunately, is what we consider contamination, and we'll be heading to the landfill. Anything else flows through. The first thing we're going to sort out would be our fiber. So you'll take your newsprint and your cardboard. We'll use our sizing screens to pull those out. Then we go on to our container-based material. We'll use a glass breaker to break the glass, and that's why we have our 2-inch rule. So anything 2 inches or smaller cannot be recovered at our facility, because that's going to wind up contaminating our glass.
And I want to stop you right there. And for that 2-inch rule, that means whether that's 2-inch plastic, 2-inch paper,
Exactly.
2-inch anything else, a piece of a metal can, anything 2 inches or smaller, we do not want to put into our recycling facility.
Exactly. That is going to end up contaminating our glass, and eventually it'll take the long road to the landfill.
Right. And all of our recyclables do obviously go onto a waste management truck where everything gets squished and compacted, so they don't have to send the truck back as many times to empty as they need to. So plan on the glass being broken, basically. And then anything that, I always think of anything that shatters like a piece of glass, and I know we'll get into it, like the silverware, or anything that shatters like a piece of glass should not be put into our blue bin.
Exactly.
Okay.
Your hard types of plastics, those should remain out of your blue bins.
Right, and CD cases, silverware, things like that.
Exactly.
Okay, so I stopped you in the middle of the
That's
process,
okay.
but go ahead
no
and keep
problem.
going.
So then we get to our cans. We'll use a magnet to pull out the tin, and we'll use an eddy current, which is just a magnet in a constantly revolving drum that's going to repel our aluminum. And we're left with just our plastics. So we use an optic sorter. It's a light that's set by computer to identify material by size, shape, or density. We actively sort for number 1 and number 2 plastics. 3 through 5 and number 7 are going to get baled together as a mixed plastic.
Okay.
And that's the recycling process.
It's so simple, and when you get there, and I know we've got a lot of good video to show you guys during our interview, our show here, but everything gets dumped onto this tipping floor, and it all looks like garbage, but it's not. It's actually very valuable, recyclable resources. And I will tell you, one of my favorite things that happened at Neville Island, I went down there, and we're on the tipping floor, and we're looking at everything that's about to go onto this conveyor belt, and the first thing I saw was a paper from the Erie Times News. So I always have people say, well, does our recycling really go to Neville Island? I can tell you it really does, because I saw that paper down there.
You know it made it.
Yes, I do. And so we want to make sure that all of our containers, whether they're the plastic bottles or the cans, soup cans, we want to make sure that they're free of debris and liquids.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yep, make sure your containers are clean. If it's a peanut butter container, a yogurt container, I usually just take a napkin, wipe out the residue, what's left of it, because usually I'm scraping it out anyways, so I realize it's at the end that I need more peanut butter.
Right.
Your bottles, I usually just dump them out. I'll give a quick rinse if it's a milk or a soda pop. As long as they're clean, that's the best way to put them in. Food and debris, the saying one bad apple can spoil a whole bunch is very true with recycling. If any type of food or debris comes in on our containers, more than likely that's going to contaminate other recyclables, and it just makes them unvaluable. The end users don't want products that are contaminated with food or beverage.
Right, that makes sense. And I will say, just a tip for all you dog owners out there, your dogs love to lick the inside of the peanut butter jar. So that's how I get mine clean before I send them down to Neville Island. And so as far as, like you said, soup cans or, pop bottles or things like that, we can recycle the empty ones. We should not recycle a full can of soup or a full can of pop.
Exactly.
Right?
With those, if you have a full can that hasn't been opened, maybe look at your local food banks. If it's under the expiration date, donate that can. If you have a half-eaten can or a half-drank can, dump out the remaining residue. Just give it a little swish around, make sure it's a clean can, and throw it right in your recycling bin.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, as far as making sure it's a clean can, is that not only is that helpful for Neville Island, but I will tell you, it'll prevent, bees or other insects from kind of making your recycle bin in your garage or right outside your home, making it, from getting too dirty or nasty. So I do like to rinse out everything, but it doesn't need to go so far as the dishwasher.
Exactly. I feel like you're preventing what you're trying to do to recycle. You're trying to save natural resources and conserve, so no need to run it through the dishwasher cycle.
Right. And we always like to, put the size restrictions on, because if you see these mechanical processing pieces, they are only so big and they can only handle so much, or certain types of shapes and things like that. So I know we have the smaller limit, and it's the 2-inch by 2-inch rule.
2-inch rule.
But as far as things that are larger, like cardboard or whatnot, what would be the best practices for those larger items?
So if it's larger than a 5-gallon bucket, that's something we usually say, try to find another outlet for it. See if you can reuse it. See if there's another outlet that will take that item. Your cardboard, as long as it's broken down and flat, usually that's something we can accept. Haulers might have a certain size that they would like that, and that's really just for collection, ease of collection of that material. But as long as it's coming in flat, we can take that at our recycling facility.
And why is it a problem if it's still, if they haven't flattened it, or if it's still big and bulky? Why is that a problem?
So first off, it's going to be difficult for your hauler to collect. If they are able to collect it, they get it in the truck, that type of dimensional cardboard box can trap other good recyclables underneath it. So if it's running over our sizing screen, your pop cans or your soda bottle or your water bottles could be stuck in that box, and it won't actually allow them to fall through the screen to go on for their sorting process.
Right. And here in Mill Creek, we do want you to keep your recyclables or your cardboard boxes, anything. We like to say about 4 foot by 4 foot is usually a good size for our haulers to manage.
Exactly.
It's usually only one person on the truck, so we need to make sure that they can handle it. So
Especially if you're using a toter or a container, you want to make sure it fits into your container.
exactly, that's a good point. And on the very top, I see on each one of these containers, we have a bottle cap.
Me too.
Are those recyclable?
So we'll take the plastic bottle caps first. If it's on a plastic bottle, usually the cap is going to be a different type of plastic, a different grade, but that's okay. The end user, as long as it's coming attached to a bottle, can recycle it. Let the air out of your bottle, which is great to do anyways. It allows you to put more material into your container, and screw the cap back on. If you have a bottle like the glass bottle, it's going to be really difficult to make sure that this cap stays attached to this bottle, especially because we're breaking it. So unfortunately, we do have to remove this cap. It falls under that 2-inch rule we talked about. This has to get discarded, or if you can find a fun craft project with it, that might work. But this cannot be recycled or recovered at our facilities.
Right. And the reason I think of this too is because when all of this is getting compacted, if you don't squish out the air first and that compactor hits that plastic water bottle, it'll just go shooting off, right?
And we also perforate our plastic.
Oh, okay.
So as it's coming through the facility, we are going to perforate it, but sometimes a plastic bottle can get missed. So you'll have the compactor that could pop the bottle cap off, or the bottle will just continue rolling down the belt and will never get sorted as the type of plastic that it is.
Yeah. And how can wrongfully sorted items or recycled items cause a jam in the machinery?
It goes back to your plastic bags. Plastic bags or any film plastic. Hangers, wire hangers, these can get caught up around our screens. And we're really mainly talking about our sizing screens that they're going to get wrapped around. The biggest one I see, especially now with the holidays coming, Christmas lights, we see these a lot. They're glass, this is plastic. You think, oh, this can be recycled.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we cannot recover this. This gets wrapped around those same machines. We see a lot of cables, cords, rubber hoses. Same problem. This material is just going to get wrapped right around those screens, and unfortunately, we have to shut down the line, pull it all out, and it gets discarded as trash anyway.
Okay, so that's a good point. I'm kind of noticing a trend here. Really what you guys want to recover and what's the best thing to recover are the things that are actually containers, right?
Yes, container-based items are the easiest for us to recover. They have a good commodity value to them, and it's a good product to recycle.
Okay, and in the wire hangers, I do get a lot of questions, well, it's metal, why can't we recycle it? But that goes back to, yes, somebody can collect it, yes, it's metal and somebody may want to purchase it, but as far as that middle component of actually making it through the sorting facility,
Exactly.
it doesn't work so well.
Exactly.
Okay, and I do want to pull out a few other no-nos here. You've got this cord here we mentioned and the hose, but what's this one here? It looks like maybe it looks like what I would give my dog treats are in.
Yeah, so this is just what would be flexible packaging, resealable flexible packaging that you're seeing a lot now in the grocery store shelves. Unfortunately, we cannot recover this item very easily. We don't have an end market for it at this point, and it's difficult for us to recover. So this is something that we do unfortunately at this time have to throw away. We have here, again, going back to the holiday season, you're going to get a lot of online shopping. Your packaging, this is something we can't recycle or recover. If you have your paper envelopes, but it has that bubble wrap on the inside,
Right.
something that also has to go into your trash container.
Okay, and a big question I get here, pizza boxes.
The boxes, it's a big one that we always
Yes.
get. So this is a pizza box that I saved from dinner last night. It still has the cheese and grease and everything at the bottom.
That's
So
how all my pizza boxes look.
Exactly. This is something that we just cannot recover and recycle. It's not a good quality product. It's heavily contaminated. But the top half is pretty clean. So as long as your top half is clean, you can rip this off and recycle the top portion. But this bottom half where your cheese and grease are,
Yeah.
that's going to have to go into the trash.
Okay, and like you said, it should go into the trash. If it's not too greasy, but you think it's borderline, maybe think about ripping them up and using them in your compost pile.
Exactly.
Even you don't want too much grease in your compost pile, or really any grease at all. But if it's something like that, you might be okay to get away with it if you're really opposed to putting something like that in the trash. And then how about, we did mention the silverware, but the silverware it's almost twofold why we can't accept silverware. We do get a lot of questions on this. And go ahead and explain. I always like to jump in because I know all the answers, so I'm trying to be a good student. But
You could give our tours for us, I think, Jesse. So it's the size, really. This is going to fall through and contaminate your glass. It doesn't fall under that 2-inch by 2-inch rule, so this is just going to wind up contaminating your glass.
Okay, and the glass candle holder right there. This looks very similar to me, and when I first started recycling and becoming really involved, it looks the same, it feels the same, it sounds the same as this drinking bottle here.
Exactly. Unfortunately, your these types of glass containers, your Pyrex, your ceramic containers, those are a different grade of glass. And unfortunately, those are not the types of glass that we can recycle at our facilities. We really want to focus on your glass bottles and jars that maybe held any type of food or beverage inside of them. Another reason, I mean, you're looking at 2 inches of wax, and I burnt this as long as I could.
Right.
But it's still contaminated glass.
Right,
So-
and then at this point, like, it's just time to send it, to the trash. and
Exactly.
It can't be accepted, and that was a hard one for me. But think of it just like plastic. How you see the the numbers on the bottom of each of the different types of plastic resins. It's 2 different types of glass, so we need to keep that one in mind. And then the very last thing I want to talk about. Oh gosh, this is a heartbreak for me. It's what I use every single day, or I try not to because I bring reusable cups, but your coffee drinking cups that you get from your, your to-go coffee places.
Your to-go cups, unfortunately, are going to have to be thrown away. Some of them can be composted, so definitely look to see if they are compostable.
Okay.
But unfortunately, this is just something we can't recover.
Right.
And we're going to have to toss that.
Okay, and there's almost even 3 different components to it, and there is a recycle symbol on the lid of this. So the lid of this is plastic, but you think this is too small to fall through to the glass screener.
This is a small, flimsy type of plastic. This is going to be really difficult for us to recover.
Okay.
More than likely, it's going to wind up with your glass or somewhere it's not supposed to be.
Right, and then this paper, the paper on the bottom, the paper cup, usually when you get them from fast food places, they're usually coated actually with a type of residue that allows the drink to stay warm and have not your hand, your hand not get too hot on it, so then it can't be recycled.
Exactly.
Right? Okay, so everybody bring your to-go cups with you to work and get those refilled since those aren't recyclable. And what is Waste Management doing to help educate customers about what can and can't be recycled? I think you have a great website.
We do. Our website, recycleoftenrecycleright.com or RORR.com, is a great resource for anybody that has questions about recycling. You can log on. You can find posters, brochures. If you're a teacher or have a student in school, we have lesson plans for K through 5 on there. We have videos of our recycling facilities, and it's a great resource if you're having some questions about what can be recycled. Doing things like this are a great way for us to get the word out. And we encourage customers, if they can't contact their municipality, contact us and ask us what can be recycled. We want to make sure we get good quality material in the bins, and we're keeping that contamination out of there.
And that's important. That's something I think that's changed over the last few years. As far as Waste Management and the other recyclers throughout the country, you have to be more and more strict. Do you want to talk about why things are becoming so strict when it comes to no, you can't put that in the bin, or yes, you can?
Sure. Contamination can be very costly for recycling processors. We want to make sure we're giving good quality product to our end users. Unfortunately, contamination drives the price of recycling, and it's something that we combat every day. Our facility in Pittsburgh has about a 12 to 15% contamination rate. Nationwide, the average contamination rate is about 16%, but that's still really high. We want to see that down, and we want to make sure we're getting good quality products out.
Right. And I think, when it comes to recycling, I think when in doubt, leave it out.
Exactly.
Is that right?
When in doubt, leave it out of the container.
Okay, because otherwise you guys will have to sort it, separate it, and it will just go back to the landfill. Okay.
Exactly.
And I just want to wrap up right here. Your thoughts on what our viewers can do to be a good recycler, because I know they're watching, and I know they want to recycle everything and do the right thing.
Yep. Biggest things, if you visit our Recycle Often, Recycle Right website, you'll see that you can take the recycling pledge, and we ask that you recycle all of your bottles, cans, and paper. Make sure your recyclables are clean and dry, and keep your plastic bags out of your recycling container.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for joining
Thank
us,
you.
Erica. We're going to put the contact information in the website on the screen here. And folks, we really appreciate all of the recycling you've sent to Neville Island. We are able to get back some grant funding to put back into our educational programs. So keep on recycling and do it right and do it often. Until next time, have a great day.
You're watching the Mill Creek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.